Olivia Clark wiped the grease from her hands with a rag that had seen better days. The old pickup truck in her garage would run again by tomorrow. Another satisfied customer at Clark's Auto Repair. She glanced at the clock on the wall. 6:30 p.m. Time to close up shop. As the garage door rattled down, Olivia looked up at the darkening sky. The first stars were beginning to appear. Her eyes automatically traced familiar constellations, a habit she couldn't break even after 8 years. 8 years since she had last been among those stars. Olivia walked the 3 blocks to her small house on Maple Street. Neighbors waved as she passed. To them, she was just Olivia the mechanic, who moved to town from back east and kept to herself, but was always willing to help when someone's car broke down. No one in the town of Riverside, population 2,843, knew who she really was. No one knew that Olivia Clark had once been Captain Lisa Reeves, the most skilled Starship pilot the United Earth Fleet had ever seen. Inside her house, Olivia locked the door and headed straight for the basement. Unlike the rest of her modest home, the basement door featured a sophisticated biometric lock hidden behind a normal-looking deadbolt. The basement itself was sparsely furnished except for a metal desk with a single device that resembled an ordinary tablet. Olivia pressed her thumb to the screen. It lit up with a secure connection prompt. "Identification," said a computerized voice. "Phoenix 7 Delta Omega 9, she replied, the code feeling strange on her tongue. She used it only once a month. The screen changed to show the face of an older man with short gray hair and tired eyes. "Monthly check-in," Olivia said. "All clear." Admiral Frank Winters nodded on the screen. "Any unusual activity?" "Nothing." This conversation had been nearly identical for 8 years. Sometimes they added small talk about the weather. Once Winters had mentioned that her old navigator had gotten married, but mostly it was the same brief exchange confirming that Olivia's cover remained intact. "Actually," Olivia said before the Admiral could end the call, "there have been some strange power outages in town. 3 this week." Winters frowned. "Natural causes?" "The power company says yes, but ... double quotes." Olivia hesitated. "My instruments picked up some unusual readings, frequencies that reminded me of Arcturian scanning technology." The Admiral's expression remained neutral, but Olivia noticed how his shoulders tensed. "Probably nothing," he said too quickly, "but log the data and send it through secure channels." After the call ended, Olivia sat in the dim light of the basement for a long time. Her fingers itched to activate the other equipment hidden in room-sophisticated scanners and communication devices that would give her a better picture of what might be happening. But using them might create detectable energy signatures. If there were Arcturians nearby, she would be lighting a beacon. Instead, she went upstairs and made a simple dinner of pasta and sauce, just like any other small-town mechanic would do. On a Wednesday night, the next morning, Olivia opened the garage at exactly 8 a.m. Her first appointment wasn't until 10 o'clock, so she began working on the pickup truck from yesterday. The familiar routine of fixing engines calmed her. Cars were simple compared to Starship drives, but she had grown to appreciate their straightforward mechanics. The bell above the garage door jingled. Olivia looked up to see George Peterson, the high school science teacher, walking in with 2 cups of coffee from Marge's diner across the street. "Morning, Olivia," he said, handing her one of the cups. "Thought you might need this." "Thanks, George," she said, taking a grateful sip. George often stopped by on his way to school. He taught physics and astronomy, and sometimes asked Olivia questions about car engines to use as examples in his classes. "Strange things in the sky last night?" George said casually. Olivia's hand froze mid-sip. "What kind of strange things?" "I was using the school telescope with the astronomy club. We saw what looked like satellites, but they were moving in formation. too precise to be random. And then they just ... vanished. ... George shook his head. Probably military drones or something, right? Probably, Olivia agreed, her mouth suddenly dry. Military drones didn't vanish, but Arcturian scout ships did. George chatted for a few more minutes before heading to school. As soon as he left, Olivia went into her office at the back of the garage and closed the door. She took a small device from her pocket that looked like an ordinary phone but contained technology far beyond anything available to the public. She scanned for unusual frequencies and found them immediately. Subtle but unmistakable energy patterns that she recognized from her training. Arcturian communication signals. Olivia's heart raced. It had been 8 years since the incident, the reason she was hiding in this small town under a new identity. 8 years since she had executed the infamous series maneuver that saved the human research station and an Arcturian diplomatic vessel from destruction. 8 years since someone had betrayed her team, forcing her to go into hiding while the military investigated the breach. The Arcturians weren't supposed to know she existed. Her role in the incident had been classified at the highest level. Only a handful of people on Earth knew the truth. So why were they here? Now, the rest of the day passed in a blur of oil changes and tire rotations. Olivia smiled and made small talk with her customers while her mind raced through possibilities and escape plans. By closing time, she had decided to contact Winters again instead of waiting for their next scheduled check-in. She never got the chance. As she was locking up the garage, a bright light swept across the street. Everyone outside stopped and looked. Up, a sleek silver craft hovered above the town's water tower. It made no sound, but the air seemed to vibrate with its presence. People began pointing and shouting. Someone screamed. Cars stopped in the middle of the road. Olivia stood frozen. In place, she knew that ship design. It was an Arcturian diplomatic vessel, smaller than their warships, but still impressive by human standards. What she couldn't understand was why it was here, in plain sight, hovering over a small town in the middle of America. Then 3 beams of light shot down from the ship, scanning the area. One of them passed over Olivia, paused, and returned to focus directly on her. She felt a tingling sensation at the base of her skull where her neural pilot implant lay dormant. The beam intensified. Around her, people backed away, leaving Olivia standing alone in the circle of light. She thought about running, but knew it was pointless. The Arcturians had found her. Her secure phone buzzed in her pocket. Admiral Winters' voice came through, clearly when she answered. "We detected the Arcturian ship," he said without preamble. "Stay where you are. A team is on the way." "They're scanning me, sir," Olivia replied quietly. "They know who I am." "That's impossible," Winters said, but his voice lacked conviction. Above the water tower, a hatch opened in the Arcturian ship. Something was emerging. "Sir?" Olivia said, watching as a platform began to descend from the craft. "I think we're about to have first contact." Again. The platform from the Arcturian ship descended slowly through the evening air. Olivia stood motionless in the beam of light while townspeople gathered at a safe distance, their phones recording the historic moment. Police sirens wailed in the eye. Distance, but no one was managing the growing crowd. No one knew what to do when aliens arrived in a small town. Olivia knew she should run, hide, do anything except stand there waiting. But there was nowhere to go. The Arcturians had technology that could track her neural implant across galaxies. If they had found her here, they could find her anywhere. The platform touched down on the empty street in front of her garage. 3 tall figures stood upon it, their iridescent skin catching the last rays of sunlight. Arcturians were humanoid, but unmistakably alien, with elongated limbs and faces that seemed to shift subtly when you looked at them directly. They wore simple silver garments that moved like liquid metal dot. The tallest Arcturian stepped forward. "Captain Lisa Reeves," it said in perfect English, the voice melodious yet somehow mechanical. "We have been searching for you." Hearing her reel, name spoken aloud after 8 years, sent a shock through Olivia's body. Behind her, she could hear murmurs of confusion from the townspeople. "My name is Olivia Clark," she said firmly. "You're mistaken." The Arcturian tilted its head. "The neural signature cannot be duplicated. You are the Phantom, the one who performed the series maneuver." Before Olivia could respond, the sound of helicopter rotors filled the air. 3 military helicopters appeared over the town, followed by black SUVs speeding down Main Street. Men in uniform created a perimeter, pushing back civilians and media, who had begun to arrive. Admiral Winters stepped out of the lead SUV, flanked by soldiers. He looked older than he had on the communication screen, his face deeply lined with worry. He approached Olivia and the Arcturians with measured steps. "I am Admiral Frank Winters of the United Earth Fleet," he announced. "This is United Earth. Territory. State your purpose." The Arcturian leader turned its attention to Winters. "We come with urgent purpose. The Phantom is needed." "There is no one here by that designation," Winters said stiffly. The Arcturian gestured toward Olivia. "The human known as Lisa Reeves, called the Phantom by our kind, the one who saved both Arcturian and human lives 8 years ago." A hush fell over the crowd. Olivia felt dozens of eyes turn toward her. Her neighbors, her customers, people who had known her as the quiet mechanic for years, all of them staring with new questions in their eyes. "We need to move this discussion to a secure location," Winters said firmly. Now, 20 minutes later, Olivia found herself inside a hastily established command center in the town's community center. Military personnel had set up equipment and secured the building while government officials tried to manage the media circus forming outside. The 3 Arcturians stood calmly in the center of the room, seemingly untroubled by the chaos they had caused. "You've compromised a top-secret asset," Winters was saying to the Arcturian leader. "Do you understand the security breach you've created? Your secrecy concerns are irrelevant compared to the threat we all face," the Arcturian replied. "The Vex Collective moves against both our peoples." Olivia, who had been silently watching the exchange, stepped forward. "The Vex? They were destroyed in the Proxima Centauri conflict." The Arcturians turned their attention to her. "You speak now as the Phantom," the leader observed, "not as the mechanic." Olivia didn't respond. It was true she had slipped back into her old role without thinking. "The Vex were not destroyed," the second Arcturian said. "They retreated and rebuilt. They have infiltrated both human and Arcturian systems. The incident 8 years ago was their first attempt to pit our species against each other." Winters frowned. "That's not possible. We investigated thoroughly." "Your investigation was compromised," the third Arcturian said. "Just as your current military command structure is compromised. The Vex have agents among you." A chill ran down Olivia's spine. She looked at Winters, seeing the same fear reflected in his eyes. If the Arcturians were right, no one could be trusted. "Why come to me?" Olivia asked. "I've been grounded for 8 years. I'm not even a pilot anymore." The Arcturian leader stepped closer to her. The series maneuver revealed something the Vex fear: human intuition. The ability to make unpredictable choices that succeed against all calculated odds. You possess this quality more than any pilot we have encountered. "And we have a vessel that needs such a pilot," Winters added quietly. Olivia turned to him in surprise. "What?" Winters sighed heavily. "After the incident, we began developing a new class of ship using technology we ... acquired from various sources. It's called the USS Horizon. It's unlike anything in our fleet. It needs a pilot with your specific neural pattern. You've been planning this all along? Olivia felt anger rising within her, while I was fixing cars and living in exile. It was always a possibility that you would be needed again, Winters said. We kept you safe, but ready. Before Olivia could respond, alarms blared throughout the command center. A young officer rushed in. Sir, we have multiple bogies entering Earth's atmosphere. They're not responding to hails, and they're moving fast. The Arcturian leader turned to Olivia. The Vex have followed us here. They know we have found you. Winters was already barking orders, coordinating defenses. He paused to look at Olivia. We need to get you to the horizon, now. Olivia stood frozen, her mind racing. 8 years of quiet life in Riverside flashed before her eyes. She thought of her garage, her small house, the ordinary life she had built. She thought of George Peterson and his coffee deliveries, of Marge's diner and the pickup truck she had promised. Fix by tomorrow. Then she thought of the stars and what it felt like to fly among them. How fast can we reach this ship of yours? She asked Winters. There's a transport waiting. We can be at the lunar base in 3 hours. Olivia nodded. I'll need to know everything about the Horizon systems before we dock. Already arranged, Winters said, relief evident in his voice. We have someone waiting to brief you during the flight. The ship's lead engineer. Outside, the sound of jets screamed overhead as Earth's defenses mobilized. Through the window, Olivia could see her neighbors being evacuated, confusion and fear on their faces. For 8 years, no one had known who she really was. Now everyone would know. The Arcturian leader approached her one more time. The Phantom returns to the stars, it said, something like satisfaction in its strange voice. Olivia straightened her shoulders, feeling the weight of responsibility settle upon them. Once again, my name is Captain Lisa Reeves, she said, reclaiming her identity at last, and I have a job to do. The military transport rocket climbed through the atmosphere at a speed that pressed Lisa back into her seat. She had almost forgotten what it felt like to leave Earth behind. Almost. Her body remembered the feeling, just as her hands remembered. The controls of the Starship, even after 8 years of fixing car engines, across from her, sat a young man with curly brown hair and bright blue eyes that couldn't hide his excitement, despite the serious situation. He had introduced himself as Alan Riley, lead engineer on the USS Horizon project. He couldn't be older than 30, Lisa thought. Captain Reeves, he said, still sounding amazed to be speaking those words. I've studied your flight patterns for years. The series maneuver is required reading at the Academy now. Lisa raised an eyebrow. They teach my mistakes? Your success, Alan corrected. No one else could have pulled that off. That's why the Horizon was designed with you in mind. He activated a tablet and showed her a 3-dimensional model of a ship, unlike any Lisa had ever seen. It was sleek and asymmetrical, with sections that seemed to flow into each other rather than connect with hard lines. Is that Arcturian design? She asked. Alan nodded. Partially. We've incorporated technology from 3 different species, including some Vex components we captured. But the neural interface is the real breakthrough. Neural interface? The Horizon doesn't have traditional controls. It connects directly to the pilot's neural implant. You don't just fly the ship, Captain. You become the ship. Lisa frowned. That sounded both thrilling and terrifying. Has anyone successfully piloted it yet? Alan looked away. We've had 12 test pilots try. 4 suffered neural feedback that put them in the medical bay for weeks. The rest couldn't establish a stable connection at all. So I'm your last hope, Lisa said flatly. Your neural pattern is unique. The simulations show you're the only one who can handle the interface. Lisa stared out the window at the stars becoming visible as they left Earth's atmosphere. No pressure then. 3 hours later, the transport docked at Luna Base, a massive structure built into the dark side of the moon. Military personnel rushed Lisa and Alan through security checkpoints and into a briefing room where Admiral Winters was waiting with several high-ranking officers and 2 Arcturian representatives. "The situation has escalated," Winters said without preamble. 3 Vex scout ships breached our outer defenses before being destroyed. We believe their main fleet is hiding beyond Saturn, gathering strength. "How long do we have?" Lisa asked. "Intelligence suggests 3 days at most before they launch a major offensive," one of the officers replied. Winters pointed to a star map. "We need the Horizon operational, and you ready to pilot it before then. The plan is to use the ship's unique capabilities to disrupt the Vex fleet formation, creating vulnerabilities our main forces can exploit." Lisa looked around the room. "Where is the Horizon now?" "Docking Bay 7, Alan said. "Final preparations are underway." "I need to see it," Lisa said, standing up. Now, the docking bay was enormous, but the USS Horizon dominated the space. In person, the ship was even more striking than in the hologram. Its hull seemed to shimmer with an inner light, dark metallic surfaces flowing like water frozen in time. It was smaller than the capital ships Lisa had piloted before, but somehow it felt more powerful. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Alan smiled proudly. "Wait until you see what it can do." Inside, the bridge was nothing like a traditional starship. Instead of a captain's chair surrounded by control stations, there was a single reclined seat in the center of a circular room. The walls were covered with a material Lisa didn't recognize, something that seemed to pulse with faint light. "The neural chamber," Alan explained. "When you're connected, you'll perceive the ship's sensors as extensions of your own senses. You'll feel the engines as if they're your own muscles." Lisa approached the pilot's seat cautiously. "When do we start?" "Right now," Winters said from behind her. "We don't have time to ease you in, Captain. The Vex could strike at any moment." Lisa nodded and sat in the chair. Alan moved around her, attaching sensors to her temples and the base of her skull where her neural implant was located. The chair adjusted to her body automatically. "This will feel intense," Alan warned. "Try to relax and let the ship in." Lisa closed her eyes as Alan activated the neural interface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then pain shot through her skull like lightning. She gasped, her back arching as information flooded her mind. Ship systems, sensor data, engine status, all of it poured into her consciousness at once. She tried to scream, but couldn't find her voice. Images flashed before her eyes. The disastrous mission 8 years ago. The betrayal. The faces of her crew who didn't make it back. The memory of the series maneuver replayed in vivid detail the impossible odds. The split-second decision that saved 2 ships, but ended her career. Just when Lisa thought she would break under the pressure, something shifted. The pain receded, replaced by a strange sensation of expansion. She could feel the ship around her, through her. The hull became her skin, the sensors her eyes, the engines her heart beating with powerful rhythm. She opened her eyes and gasped. She could see the docking bay, but also beyond it. She could sense the vacuum of space outside, feel the gravitational pull of the moon beneath her. The horizon was alive, and she was part of it. "Connection stable," Alan said, his voice full of wonder. "It's working." Lisa lifted her hand, and somewhere she knew the ship's systems were responding. She focused on the engines, feeling their potential energy like coiled muscles waiting to spring. "Run the diagnostics," she said, her voice strange to her own ears. Alan worked quickly at a small console. All systems responding. Neural sync at 92% and climbing. "Captain, you've done it." Lisa allowed herself a small smile. Let's see what this ship can do. Over the next 24 hours, Lisa trained in simulated battles, learning how to control the horizon through the neural interface. The ship responded to her thoughts with incredible precision, executing maneuvers that would have been impossible in any conventional vessel. The technology was amazing, but taxing. Each session left her exhausted, her mind raw from the intense connection. During a short break, she found Alan working on adjustments to the interface. "Can I ask you something?" she said, sitting beside him. He looked up. "Of course, Captain. The neural patterns the ship responds to, they're specifically matched to me, right? To how my brain works." Alan nodded. "Your decision-making process, your intuitive leaps, the way you visualize space, all of it is unique. That's why the other pilots failed." Lisa frowned. "But how did you map my neural patterns?" "I've been in hiding for 8 years." Alan hesitated. I'm not sure. The data was provided by Admiral Winters. I assumed it was from your time in the fleet." A cold feeling settled in Lisa's stomach. Something wasn't right. The neural mapping technology needed for the horizon didn't exist 8 years ago when she went into hiding. Before she could pursue this further, alarms blared throughout the base. Admiral Winters' voice came over the intercom. "All personnel to battle stations. Vex forces have been detected entering the solar system. This is not a drill." Lisa and Alan rushed to the bridge, where officers were monitoring the incoming threat. "There, earlier than we expected," Winters said grimly when he saw Lisa. "Are you ready, Captain?" Lisa looked at the tactical display showing multiple Vex warships approaching. They were sleek, predatory vessels designed for one purpose: destruction. Behind them, more ships were appearing, dozens, then hundreds. "The horizon is ready," she said, meeting his eyes. "But something doesn't add up, Admiral. We need to talk about how you got my neural pattern." Winter's expression hardened. "Later, Captain. Right now, we need you in that ship." As Lisa turned to leave, she caught sight of one of the officers watching her with an unusual intensity. Something about his eyes seemed wrong, too focused, too mechanical. When he realized she was looking at him, his face quickly returned to a neutral expression. In that moment, Lisa knew. The Arcturians were right. The Vex had infiltrated Earth's military, and they were much closer than anyone realized. Lisa hurried toward the neural chamber of the USS Horizon, her mind racing. The officer with the strange eyes troubled her. If the Vex had infiltrators in the Luna base, nowhere was safe. She needed to get to the ship, where she at least had some control. Alan followed close behind, rushing to prepare the neural interface. "We're jumping straight into combat without a full systems check," he said, his voice tight with worry. "This isn't how it's supposed to happen." "War rarely follows the manual," Lisa replied as they entered the ship. The corridors seemed to pulse with energy, responding to her presence. She could already feel the horizon reaching for her mind. As they reached the bridge, Lisa grabbed Alan's arm. "I need you to listen carefully," she said quietly. "I think there's a Vex agent on the command team." The officer with the dark hair and scar near his right eye. "Something's off about him." Alan's eyes widened. "Colonel Harris? He's Winter's right-hand man. Watch him if you can. And be careful who you trust." Lisa settled into the pilot's chair. As alarms continued to sound throughout the base. As Alan connected her to the neural interface, the pain was less intense this time. Her mind expanded more quickly, merging with the ship. She could feel the horizon's eagerness, like a living thing ready to leap into action. "Neural sync at 97%, Alan announced. "All systems online." Through the ship's sensors, Lisa could detect the approaching Vex fleet. They were still hours away, but moving fast. Smaller Earth vessels were already launching to form a defensive line. Admiral Winter's voice came through the communication system. Captain Reeves, you are cleared for launch. Join the outer defense formation at coordinates 227 Mark 38. Understood, Lisa replied, but she hesitated. Joining the main fleet would put her under direct command control, potentially under the influence of Vex. Infiltrators. She made a split-second decision. Alan, I need to speak to the Arcturian representatives. Now, before we launch. Alan looked confused but nodded. I'll try to patch them through. Minutes later, the holographic image of the Arcturian leader appeared on the bridge. Phantom. It greeted her. You have concerns. The Vex have infiltrated Earth Command, Lisa said without preamble. I need to know who I can trust. The Arcturian seemed unsurprised. This confirms our suspicions. The Vex use neural technology to replace or control key individuals. They may have been doing this for years. Then, how do I know you're not compromised? Lisa challenged. Arcturian neural structure is incompatible with Vex control methods. This is why they fear our alliance with humans. Together, we can resist them. Lisa considered this. What about Admiral Winters? Unknown. He has been isolated from our sensors. A plan began forming in Lisa's mind. I need a secure channel to communicate with your ships during battle. Something the Vex can't intercept. The Arcturian nodded. Our vessels use quantum entanglement for communications. I will provide the frequency codes. After the Arcturian disappeared, Lisa turned to Alan. We're changing the plan. What? We can't just ignore orders, Alan protested. We're not ignoring them. We're just going to follow them creatively. Lisa smiled grimly. I need you to trust me. The launch sequence began. Lisa felt the Horizon's engines ignite, as if they were her own muscles flexing. The ship rose smoothly from its docking clamps and glided out of the bay into the vacuum of space. The sensation was incredible. Through the neural interface, Lisa didn't just pilot the ship, she was the ship. She could feel solar radiation on the hull, detect the minute gravitational pulls of nearby vessels, sense the vast emptiness around her. The stars seemed to beckon. Captain? Reeves, Admiral Winter's voice cut through her thoughts. Proceed to your assigned coordinates immediately. On my way, Admiral, Lisa replied. But instead of heading toward the main fleet, she guided the Horizon into the shadow of the moon, temporarily disappearing from Earth sensors. What are you doing? Alan asked, alarmed. Testing a theory. Lisa concentrated, accessing the ship's advanced scanning systems. She directed them back toward Luna Base, specifically targeting the command center. I need to know who's giving the orders. The Horizon's sensors were beyond anything Earth's military possessed. Lisa could detect individual life signs and more. Importantly, the unique energy signatures associated with them. As the data flowed into her mind, she gasped. Admiral Winters is showing signs of neural tampering, she said. And he's not the only one. At least 3 officers in the command center have been compromised. Alan stared at the sensor readings in horror. That's why they pushed so hard for this battle. They're leading us into a trap. Lisa nodded grimly. And they want the Horizon. More than anything. A human pilot with Arcturian technology would be the perfect weapon for the Vex. What do we do? Alan asked. Before Lisa could answer, a warning flashed through her consciousness. The main fleet was changing formation, creating a gap in their defenses. And through that gap, a dozen Vex strike fighters were heading straight for their position. They've found us, Lisa said, instantly calculating escape vectors. Hold on. The Horizon responded to her thoughts with incredible speed, darting away from the moon's shadow just as the first Vex fighters arrived. Lisa didn't need to use controls. She simply visualized the maneuvers, and the ship executed them perfectly. Vex ships were fast, but the Horizon was faster. Lisa wove through their formation, confusing their targeting systems. She could feel weapons energy building in the ship's defense systems and released it with a thought. Beams of concentrated energy lashed out, striking 2 Vex fighters and sending them spinning away in pieces. "This is amazing," Alan said, watching the battle unfold. "You're flying this ship like you've had years of practice." "It feels right," Lisa replied, executing another impossible turn to avoid enemy fire. "Like the ship knows what I want before I do." Through the neural link, Lisa sensed something else, a pattern in the Vex attack. They weren't trying to destroy the horizon. They were hurting it, driving it toward a larger Vex vessel that had just appeared at the edge of the battlefield. "They want to capture us," she realized aloud. "Alan, I need to contact the Arcturian fleet. Now." Using the secure frequency codes, Lisa established communication with the Arcturian vessels. "This is Captain Lisa Reeves of the USS Horizon. Earth Command has been compromised. Request immediate assistance." The Arcturian leader's voice responded instantly. "We have detected the neural tampering as well. Our fleet is moving to support you." Lisa made another split-second decision. Instead of continuing to evade, she turned the horizon directly toward the main Vex vessel. The ship responded eagerly, as if it understood her plan. "Captain, what are you doing?" Alan asked, gripping his console as the ship accelerated. "Something unexpected," Lisa replied. "The Vex rely on predictions and calculations. They expect us to run. So we're going to attack instead." As the horizon raced toward the massive Vex ship, Lisa accessed its weapon systems more deeply. The ship had offensive capabilities, unlike anything she had ever controlled. She could feel power building, waiting to be released. Behind them, the Arcturian fleet emerged from hiding, engaging the Vex fighters. Ahead, the Vex command vessel began to turn, trying to bring its main weapons to bear. "They didn't expect this," Lisa said with grim satisfaction. "They didn't expect me." In her mind, she could almost hear the horizon agreeing with her. Together, they accelerated toward their target, preparing to show the Vex exactly why they had feared the Phantom for 8 long years. The USS Horizon streaked toward the massive Vex command ship like a silver arrow. Through the neural interface, Lisa could feel the ship's excitement matching her own. They were one being now, moving with perfect harmony. "They're powering up." "Their main weapon," Alan warned, his eyes fixed on the sensor readings. "Some kind of energy beam we've never seen before." Lisa didn't need the warning. She could sense the energy building in the Vex vessel, a distortion in space that made her skin, the ship's hull tingle with danger. But she could also sense something else, a pattern in the energy fluctuations, a rhythm to the weapon's charge cycle. "I see it," she replied, already adjusting their approach. "There's a 3-second window after each power surge when their shields weaken. That's our opening." Alan stared at her. "How can you possibly know that?" "I can feel it," Lisa said simply. The Horizon's sensors, combined with her pilot's intuition, gave her insights no computer could match. The Vex ship fired its weapon, a beam of sickly green energy that cut through space where the Horizon had been a split second earlier. Lisa had already changed course, executing a role that would have crushed a human body in a normal ship. In the Horizon, the maneuver felt as natural as turning her head. Captain Reeves returned to formation immediately. Came Admiral Winters. Voice over the comm system. His tone was different now, flatter, with an electronic edge that confirmed Lisa's suspicions. "Sorry, Admiral." "You're breaking up," Lisa replied, and severed the communication link. "Alan, prepare the main pulse. Cannon, we'll have one shot at this." As they approached the Vex ship, smaller enemy vessels converged on their position. Lisa wove through them, the Horizon responding to her thoughts faster than any human reflexes could manage. She didn't try to fight them all. She didn't need to. Her goal was the command ship. Behind them, the Arcturian fleet engaged the Vex fighters, creating a path for the Horizon to follow. Lisa sent a silent thanks to their alien allies. 5 seconds to optimal firing range, Alan announced, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. Pulse cannon at full charge. Lisa felt the weapon's energy building within the ship, within herself. The Horizon had been designed for this moment. A perfect blend of human intuition and alien technology. The Vex command ship loomed before them, enormous and menacing. Its surface bristled with weapons, all turning to target the approaching Earth. Vessel, they're firing again. Alan shouted. Lisa didn't respond. She was too deep in the neural connection. Her consciousness expanded beyond normal human perception. She could see the energy patterns, predict the exact moment when now. The Horizon twisted in an impossible maneuver, slipping between 2 energy beams. At the exact moment when the Vex ship's shields fluctuated, Lisa released the pulse cannons. Energy, a brilliant white beam shot from the Horizon, striking the Vex vessel precisely at its power core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then explosions blossomed across the enemy ship's surface, chain reactions tearing through its systems. Direct hit, Alan exclaimed. Their main power grid is collapsing. But Lisa's celebration was cut short. Through the neural link, she detected a new energy signature, forming within the dying Vex ship something dangerous and unstable. They're initiating some kind of self-destruct, she said, already turning the Horizon away. It's going to create a dimensional rift. Alan's face paled. Like a miniature black hole that could tear apart half the solar system. Lisa's mind raced through options, calculations flowing through the neural interface faster than human thought. The Horizon's sensors showed Earth forces and Arcturian ships already retreating, but they wouldn't get far enough in time. The rift would grow exponentially, pulling in everything nearby. There was only one option. Alan, Lisa said quietly, I need you to eject. What? No. Alan shook his head vehemently. Whatever you're planning, the Horizon's hull contains elements that conceal a dimensional rift. Lisa explained, already programming the escape pod. But someone has to guide the ship into the exact center of the distortion when it forms. Then, I'm staying too, Alan insisted. Lisa turned to him, her eyes soft but determined. The world needs to know what happened here. About the Vex infiltration. Someone has to warn Earth. Before Alan could protest further, the escape pod activated, its door sealing around him. Lisa, he shouted as the pod ejected from the ship. Alone. Now, Lisa guided the Horizon back toward the disintegrating Vex vessel. A dimensional rift was beginning to form, a swirling distortion that bent light around it. Warnings flashed through the neural interface as the ship's systems calculated the immense gravitational forces they were approaching. Just you and me now, Lisa whispered to the ship, feeling it respond with what almost seemed like affection. As they approached the rift, memories flashed through Lisa's mind. The garage in Riverside, George Peterson bringing her coffee, her small house on Maple Street. 8 years of peace. Then earlier memories. Her first flight among the stars, the Ceres maneuver, the faces of comrades lost. The Horizon began to shudder as the rift's gravity pulled at them. Lisa didn't fight it. Instead, she used the force to increase their speed, aiming directly for the center of the distortion. Let's show them why they called us the Phantom, she said, pushing the ship beyond its design limits. The Horizon plunged into the heart of the rift. Pain shot through Lisa's body as the neural interface struggled to maintain connection. Space and time bent around them, reality itself stretching like taffy. Through it all, Lisa held her course, guiding the ship to the exact center of the distortion. At the core of the rift, Lisa activated the Horizon's final defense. The ship's unique hull began to resonate, releasing energy that matched and canceled the rift's frequencies. Lisa felt the process as if it were happening within her own body atoms breaking apart, energy releasing in carefully controlled patterns. The rift began to collapse, folding in on itself. The strain on the ship on Lysis was immense. Darkness crept into the edges of her vision as systems failed one by one. "Just a little longer," she whispered, holding the ship together through sheer will. The rift shrank to a pinpoint of light and vanished. The resulting shockwave sent the horizon tumbling through space. Systems offline, the neural connection flickering like a dying flame. Lisa felt herself fading with the ship. They had done it. Earth was safe. The Vex threat was neutralized, at least for now. Her last conscious thought was a memory of the stars as seen from her backyard in Riverside Beautiful. Distant, and now saved. 3 weeks later, Alan Riley stood in a hospital room at Luna Base, watching Lisa's still form on the medical bed. Against all odds, rescue teams had found the horizon drifting near Jupiter, its systems mostly destroyed, but its neural chamber intact. Lisa had survived, though she hadn't yet regained consciousness. The neural connections were too deep, the doctor explained. Her mind and the ship became too intertwined. "We're not sure if she'll wake up as herself." "She'll wake up," Alan said confidently. "She's the Phantom. She always finds a way back." On Earth, things had changed rapidly. With Alan's testimony and evidence from the Arcturians, the Vex infiltrators had been identified and captured. Admiral Winters, freed from Vex control, had personally led the cleanup operation. The story of Lisa Reeves, the small-town mechanic who saved the solar system, had spread across the planet. In Riverside, a memorial had been erected outside her garage, which the townspeople kept operational in her honor. In her hospital room, monitoring equipment beeped steadily. One screen showed unusual brain activity patterns that matched those of the Horizon's quantum computer core. Lisa's mind was still out there somewhere, perhaps still flying among the stars. As Alan watched, Lisa's fingers twitched slightly. Then her eyes fluttered open, focusing slowly on the ceiling, then on Alan's face. "The ship?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Being rebuilt," Alan replied, tears of relief in his eyes. "They're keeping the neural chamber exactly as it was. It'll be waiting for you." Lisa smiled weakly. "Good. We have more flying to do." Outside the window, Earth hung in the blackness of space, beautiful and fragile and, thanks to a small-town mechanic with an extraordinary secret, still safe.